we were like weird in how aggressive we were. We were kind of living like broke people because of how excited we were to have no mortgage. And so that's a huge part of the puzzle is income. And so I don't want to minimize that. People go, well, he must have been paid a whole lot of money and he made $1 million. I wasn't a personality yet.
How would you like to own your home outright? What would it feel like to never make a mortgage payment ever again? On our mortgage-free segment today, we're going to interview George Kamel from the Ramsey team in Nashville, Tennessee. Recently, George and his wife Whitney became mortgage-free. Today, we're going to learn how they accomplished this family financial goal and what they're doing with their money now. Welcome to the show, George.
Thanks for having me, Andy. Always good to be with you.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to hang out with you. I know we've met each other in person a few years ago down in Nashville, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm glad to be chatting with you today about your mortgage-free story. I like to start off with these quick, short answers so people understand how you did this mortgage-free thing. Can you talk to us about what your starting mortgage principal balance was?
Sure. So when my wife and I got married, we got our first townhome together. Our mortgage was $165,000.
Awesome. 165. And then how long did it take you to pay off that 165?
Well, we got a 15-year fixed rate conventional loan like we always preach here at Ramsey, but we had an aggressive goal to pay it off early in 3 years. And because my wife is extra driven, she said we can beat that. And so we ended up doing it in 26 months, just over 2 years, we got rid of that mortgage.
That is incredible. What a pace. And now you're mortgage free. That's awesome. So now that's 26 months ago, real estate values have gone up a little bit. What's the home value today?
Oh yeah. So we paid it off. This was December 2021. We paid it off. And we did our debt-free scream with Dave on the show while I was on the Ramsey show. I ran out from behind the desk out to the lobby, and we did our debt-free scream. So this was a little while back. But the home value, we purchased at $300,000. And so we put a huge chunk down. We'll talk about that soon.
Yeah.
And then the home value, because we are in one of the wealthiest counties in Tennessee, it's crazy out here. And so it was in Thompson Station, which is just south of Franklin, Tennessee, if you've been in that area.
Franklin's nice.
In Williamson County. And so the house appreciated we bought it in August of 2019, and it appreciated $239,000.
That's awesome.
$229,000. So 300 up to 529 just a few years later, which was a huge blessing. And I understand people are, they're like, man, I wish I could have bought in 2019 instead of 2021 or 2022.
Oh my gosh. That's what happens to real estate values though. I mean, they go up. So you own this $500,000 home outright now at this point in your life. That's incredible, George. Talk to us about why you wanted to become mortgage free in the first place. What was your motivation?
Well, at the time, my wife and I, my wife works at Ramsey Solutions, so we both had drank the Kool-Aid. So by the time we met, I had already got out of consumer debt. She's much smarter, much better looking than me. So when we met, she was already debt-free, had been living a debt-free life. And that really set us on a great track because when you're married with a pile of money in the bank, it changes the game as far as what your next financial goal is. And so the goal was, let's put as big of a down payment as we can on this townhome. Let's pay it off as early as possible. And the real why was just us going, what would it be like to have no mortgage payment in our early 30s? What kind of options would that give us? What kind of life would that give us down 10, 20 years from now? How much more could we give and accomplish our giving goals? And how much more could we save? And what kind of things could we just spend and enjoy if we had that kind of margin with no mortgage payment, that kind of freedom? And so that was really the why. It was just kind of like, that sounds like a good plan. And even before we had kids, to have dual income, no kids, we call them dinks, and we were dink wads, dual income, no kids with a dog. So our French bulldog was basically our kid, and I would venture to say that dog has cost us more than our new baby has. So suffice it to say. So that was kind of our goal, was let's knock this all out while we're young. We have our energy. We don't have kids yet. We both are working. Let's just knock this out and be done with it.
Well, it sounds like that doggy's worth it. Well, let's talk about the home down payment buildup, because I think that's a sticking point for a lot of millennials in America right now. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine saving up this amount of money. Talk to us about the steps that you took to build up that home down payment and even where you put it. Because I know that's a question for people. Do I invest this home down payment? Do I save it? Talk to us about that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So this townhome wasn't my first home. And so I want to caveat that there was a little bit of equity from my first townhome purchase years back. And so we had that pile of money, plus the savings we already had going into marriage. And then we still had an aggressive goal to save up 6 figures in down payment, which is a goal for a lot of people these days. And so I wasn't going to go to Dave Ramsey and be like, hey, Dave, can I get a raise? I'm working really hard and I need to save a down payment. Instead, we were making good money, but we decided we need to make more money. And so I started looking at side hustles that I could do. Even though we were debt free, I wanted to amplify this down payment savings goal. And so I looked at my skill set and I went, okay, I know social media, email marketing, website building, MC for events. And so I did all of that. I was building websites for entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, podcasters, and I would charge, $600 or $1,000 to build these websites using Squarespace. And that was a great little side income I could do from home on nights and weekends. And I even did a stint where I hosted 10 events that were not a part of Ramsey. There was a couple that was doing Enneagram coaching. So they would do these Enneagram based events all over the country. And I did 10 of those. And that was another nice chunk of change. I don't know if it was, $1,000 per event or something like that, traveling around. And so all of that just sort of kept adding to the pile. And it gets exciting when you start to see that getting built up, and it makes you want to keep doing that. And we stored that in a high yield savings account. So I did not want to invest this money, because if you do that, you'll notice the market has fluctuations. So when you're ready to go buy that house and you need that money now, and the market just took a dip, that's a really depressing realization that you not only didn't make money, you may have lost money.
Yeah.
So putting in a high yield savings account, I think at the time we were freaking out because it was like a 2% savings interest rate. Now you can get 4 or 5% in the current market and economy. And so I tell people, as depressing as it is to look at the housing market, savings rates have never been higher on these savings accounts. So if you have 100,000 in there, that's $5,000 you could be making a year just by storing that money. So that's what we did. We both worked our tails off, and I was taking the brunt on the side hustles just because, I didn't mind grinding it out on nights and weekends to make a little extra money.
I love it. Well, it sounds like it's paid off. And how old are you and your wife today?
I am 34 and she's about to be 33.
That's awesome, man.
But we had paid it when we paid it off. She was 32, I was 33 at the time.
Awesome. Now, investing, obviously, this comes into the journey as well. You're paying off debt, you're getting rid of those things, but you're also accumulating assets. How did you guys balance that as a part of your mortgage payoff journey?
As far as the debt goes?
Oh, as far as investing for the future, future retirement, things like that as well, outside of the home.
Yeah, so in the Ramsey baby steps, we fell into what we call baby steps 4, 5, 6, meaning we're out of debt, we have an emergency fund, we're investing 15% of our income into retirement, we're putting money away for college. We didn't have kids at the time, so we leapfrogged that step, which led us to baby step 6, which is pay off the home early. Any extra money outside of that 15% investing, let's throw it at the mortgage. And so that's exactly what we did. We never stopped investing. And that's the thing. People always say, well, why would you not invest instead of paying off the mortgage early? You should be investing instead. I went, we're doing that too. We're going to be fine on the investing side. We're young. We're consistently putting 15% away. But in the meantime, before retirement, I want to have freedom. I don't want to have a mortgage payment hanging around my neck for 15 years, let alone 30 plus.
I love that. I love that. Now, when people hear this aggressive pay down time frame, they're thinking, oh, how much are these people making? Now, I did a survey of my audience, and it's around the majority of the folks who listen to the show are between $100,000 and $200,000 household income. Are you guys in that range?
Yeah, when we got married, we hit that 6-figure mark because of our dual incomes, which was awesome. That's a huge blessing to have that I understand is not a reality for a lot of people who may have a one-income household or maybe combined don't hit that 6-figure mark. So when we got married, we were right in that range, and that really helped us on top of side hustles and on top of, spending less than we make on a budget, cutting expenses down. We were like weird in how aggressive we were. We were kind of living like broke people because of how excited we were to have no mortgage. And so that's a huge part of the puzzle is income. And so I don't want to minimize that. People go, well, he must have been paid a whole lot of money and he made $1 million. Now, I wasn't a personality yet. When we were experiencing this debt payoff, the very tail end of this thing is when I was knighted personality from host and stepped into more teaching and being on the show and all of that. And so I want to encourage people that income is something that is in your control if you're willing to go out there and get it. And that may look like Ubering and Lyfting and Instacarting and Door Dashing, but it also might look like overtime or using your skill set to do freelance work. And so there's so many opportunities out there in today's world that didn't exist 10, 20 years ago. And so the opportunity is there for you to increase that income, even double your income. And we hear those stories as people do their debt-free screams on the Ramsey Show.
I think that's a really important thing that you brought up there too, especially utilizing your skill set. When you talked about those side hustles or increasing your income, it's all things that you had a skill in, as opposed to the sort of the non-skilled things that maybe would pay a little bit less money. I remember interviewing Jade Wordshaw on the show too, paying off almost $500,000 of debt. And a
Yes.
big part of that journey for her was like, hey, what can we do to amplify our income? What can we do to get out of this hole? And that sounds like exactly what you guys were able to do in utilizing your skills. Now, how did things change for you guys when you became mortgage free? Was this just another step in the process? Did you guys adjust how you utilized your money? Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So, as we do our budget, we use an app called Every Dollar that Ramsey created. It's fantastic. And so, in our budget, when you go out and you zero out that mortgage, now you still have to pay property taxes and homeowners insurance. So it doesn't go from, $2,000 to zero, but it may go from $2,000 to $300 or $400 that you need to put away to cover those expenses. And so think about, whatever your mortgage payment is, take out principal and interest and see what that does for your budget. You all of a sudden may have $1,500 or $2,000 that you now have freed up to do whatever you want with. And so what we did is we just increased each part of our life. So giving, we increased that. And now we have a separate bless up fund where we get to really just look up and out for opportunities to give spontaneously. We can do some more planned giving. There's friends that are missionaries and we get to support them monthly on an ongoing basis now. There's charities. I love charity water. And so getting to support something like that ongoing on a monthly basis is great. And if there's a need among our friends and family, we can just send them a Venmo, write them an anonymous, send an anonymous cash envelope at their door, write them a check and just go, hey, I know life's tough right now. I hope this helps. And that kind of stuff is really where joy comes from when it comes to money. And then the other side is spending. And so I like to dangle a carrot. I need that drive in my life. And so the carrot was I was driving a 2009 Honda Civic with a bumper hanging off. Dave Ramsey was making fun of me for this, going like, come on, dude, it's time to upgrade. And I went, not until I pay off the house. And so that's when I finally upgraded from my '09 Civic to a new to me car. It still wasn't a brand new car. And so that was our big spend after paying off the house to treat myself.
I love that. You you need to upgrade when Dave Ramsey's making fun of what you're driving.
Yeah, and to his point, I had paid $6,000 for this car, and it was a great car. People like to bash the old beater car, but it was a great car to me, and the only reason I upgraded was for fun because we didn't have a mortgage payment, and so I bought it was a 2013 Tesla Model S. So
Nice.
It's now 10 years old. She still drives like a champ. It's my daily driver, and I love it.
I love that. Yeah, we did the 10-year plus cars thing for a really long time, and we just upgraded both of our cars, and it was like a leap into future. It was crazy. Like we didn't have Bluetooth, we didn't have backup cameras, we didn't have like all these safety features.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so my wife and I get into the car, we're like,
It's
what is
confusing.
all this stuff? This is
It's
amazing.
overwhelming. It makes you feel like old. You're like, am I a boomer? What's happening?
Yeah,
So
no
many
tape deck, no
buttons on this
CD
thing.
deck. It's like
You're scared to drive it because I think I'm going to crash this thing. I might hit a button wrong.
but it's worth it, and you guys did the work to get there. Now you have a 2-month-old. You just told me before we started chatting. How does this mortgage-free journey and all that you're doing to build your wealth affect your generational wealth plans for the future? Talk to us about that.
Man, well, I didn't come from money. My parents were immigrants from the Middle East, and so we're kind of changing our family tree, going from not a place of survival but to a place of thriving, to where we go, she's never going to have to worry about money. Her college is going to be covered. She's not going to go into student loan debt like I did when I was younger. She's going to have all of the expenses covered. Mom and dad aren't going to be fighting about money. She's not going to grow up seeing that because there's no money fights to be had. We're on a written plan every month. We're aligned in our values and our principles. And so that's huge. I'm excited to see her grow up. The biggest problem I have now is helping her, fight against entitlement. Because as you know, when you raise a kid in an environment that doesn't have money stress, the challenge becomes how do we make sure, she still has gratitude and contentment when it comes to stuff and not just feeling like money, please. And so I'm excited to teach her as she grows that money comes from work. Money doesn't just come from mommy and daddy's wallet for allowance. But as Dave said, she's got me wrapped around her finger. And so, if she wants the pony, we're going to have to go, all right, I guess we need a pony fund now. She's got to get what she wants. So that's going to be the fun challenge to have. But we're so excited. We've already, started funding her 529 plan for college. And that's just it was a moment to go like, things change. Yeah. Things are going to change. Our family's forever going to be different because of the sacrifice we made for those few years.
I love that. We too are funding our children's 529 plans, but at the same time, we're seeing this student loan debt crisis and college increase of costs, just sort of ball of fire in the background, and being like, is this worth it? I mean, you're a dad and you're just starting out now. You got 18 years before this decision.
Ooh.
What are your thoughts in your brain right now as you're seeing all that's going on, the price increases, the student loan crisis? Is college worth it to you as a young father?
I feel strongly that in 18 years from now, we're going to see college take a whole nother shift and turn to where less and less people are going to go, this doesn't make sense for me. It's not worth the purchase. It's like if cars went up and there were $200,000 for a car, we'd all be like, we're going to get scooters and bikes. We're just going to start avoiding this because there's no ROI on this decision. And so for her, I just want her to have options, and I don't want to get to the end and she goes, oh, I do want to go to college. And my path to my career that I want to do that I love requires this further education. I don't want to go, well, we thought you might not go, so we didn't save anything, and now you got to go into student loan debt. I'd rather be prepared for that. And 529 plans you can always draw against. If they get scholarships or grants for 20 grand, well, you can withdraw that tax-free to your bank account. And so there's also new Secure 2.0 Act provisions that allow you to move a portion of that money to a Roth IRA. And so I'm not concerned about losing that money. You can also change the beneficiary name later on. So it can go to a grandson, it can go to a sibling, you name it. We can keep that in the family and help others avoid the burden of student loan debt.
I love that. Yeah, I love the increased flexibility for the 529 as our kids are getting older. I too fall in the same category as you. I want her to have some options. I want my son to have some options as they get older and decide.
Well, I have a communications degree.
Yeah.
I'm a YouTuber now. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality of it. And so who knows? We may all just be YouTubers 20 years from now making content. I have no idea. So
pretty sure that's
I'm
both
gonna
what my
push her in
kids want to
whatever
do.
direction she goes. Yeah.
They're both
did
like,
you get a degree? Is that part
I
of
got
your
a communications degree as well, and I also YouTube.
Look at us. Look at us YouTubers out there communicating.
Hey, well,
So, that's the
we're
reality
using
of
the
it.
degree, right? I mean, we're
Yeah.
communicating. So
We are you want to make fun of communication degrees, you're listening to us. We're not listening to you, audience.
That's true. Make fun of it all you want. Absolutely. Well, George, there's somebody listening that has heard your story, or even, they've been following me and they said, oh, both these guys, they probably paid off these super low interest mortgages. They could have made a lot more money in the stock market. They could have made a lot more money investing in real estate. That's a waste of money. What would you say to that person?
Oh man, I'm going to tell them try having no mortgage and see how you like it, and you can always go back into debt later if you go, man, I'm way better off investing this money. I'd rather keep payments around forever so I can make a spread on the investment potentially. That's the other thing they don't think about. And the other piece of it is, that's taxable income if you have a gain, or if even you put it in savings, that's taxable income. And I've got kind of this forced savings plan paying down this debt. We had a 3.625% mortgage. And we did, by the way, no credit score, manual underwriting, and people go, you're going to get a jacked up interest rate. And I went, no, that was a really good rate back then, even having no credit score. So I want to encourage people that it can be done that way. And for those that want to argue, that's fine. It's living rent free in your head at that point while we don't even have a mortgage payment. And so to me, debt freedom is worth it. And we are already investing. We continued investing. We're going to be multi-millionaires by the time we retire. And so I was less worried about what's going to happen 30 years from now and more thinking about what kind of freedom could we have for the next 30 years as we get to enjoy our life with no mortgage payment. So that's my mentality around it. We can argue about math all day and what potentially could happen, but I live in reality, and the reality is I got no payments.
I hear you, man. I'm not going to argue with you. I got no payments either. So I like this life. I like this completely debt-free, completely mortgage-free millionaire life. I think it's working out. And honestly, if you guys are looking at those baby steps, they work. They work, people. So as much as you want to throw some shade at this mortgage-free thing, really take a look at it. And again, as George says, if you don't like it, you can always get another one. So George, you've got a great book that's coming out, and I want to hear more about it. Tell people about it and where they can get it.
Absolutely. So the book is called Breaking Free from Broke. The subtitle is The Ultimate Guide to More Money and Less Stress. And in the book, I open with my story of how we paid off our house. We went from broke to millionaire, being the average George, not coming from money, never thinking we could ever build wealth. And it all started with breaking free from this system that's designed to keep us broke. And so I lay out all of the myths and lies from the culture of debt, this toxic money culture around credit scores, credit cards, student loans, auto loans, mortgages, investing traps, marketing, and consumerism. And so that's the first 2/3 of the book, is I lay it all out. I hit every objection I've ever heard, and I have so much research and data and humor and analogies to really make it conversational and make it stick. And the last third of the book is my version of our Ramsey plan, where I talk about how budgeting is freedom, spending is self-control, margin gives you breathing room, savings is peace, wealth is patience, and finally, generosity is joy. And so that's my thesis, is if you can break free from this broken system, you can have abundant wealth, you can have options, freedom, margin, meaning, and joy on the other side, and it's possible for you.
I love that. Break free from broke, everybody. Check it out. It is out now. George, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy. Good talking with you.
Hey, everyone. If you liked that interview with George and you're inspired to pay off your mortgage early, check out our free mortgage payoff calculator on our website. You can check it out here with this QR code, and you can also check it out with this URL here. Check it out. It's free, and you can learn how close you are to paying off your mortgage early.